me explain to you why. Now, I know I've mentioned this before, but tonight I'm gonna try to explain it. Look, marijuana, hemp. It comes in many forms. There's industrialized versions. By the way, if you're concerned about people getting high on marijuana pot, then fine, I get it. But why make it all illegal? Why can't we have industrial hemp? It has a number of excellent uses. Canada found this out. So why not allow for industrial hemp? And the reason why marijuana and its cousins, hemp, are illegal have nothing to do with the drug effects of the plant, the weed. It was a naturally growing plant. It wasn't something that was regularly cultivated in the Americas. It's a weed. And it grew on its own, much like, wild artichokes. Grew on its own. Until somebody figured out, well, hey, we can cultivate this stuff. But the problem wasn't the mind altering and body altering aspects of the drug. This was put in place, this ban was fostered by and helped to be put in place by none other than William Randolph Hearst. Now, you have to understand that William Randolph Hearst, he was a big newspaper publisher. He owned a lot of big city newspapers all over the country. Back in the day when the newspaper was king as far as the media was concerned in the news, people turned to the newspaper. They wanted to know what the news was. They needed to be informed. It was the newspaper. And there was a lot of competition. And if you owned a newspaper, you were somebody. If you owned a bunch of newspapers, oh my God, you were really somebody. And William Randolph Hearst was definitely a somebody. Now, along with those newspapers, William Randolph Hearst also had timber and paper interest. In other words, he needed the paper mills and the timber to produce the paper for his publications and newspapers across the country. But he also produced, paper for other companies as well. It meant a lot of money to him. Now, back in his day, there was this notion that, hey, there can be competition to wood pulp paper. And it's called hemp paper. And the one thing about hemp paper, it has aspects that over wood pulp is that it doesn't take as long to grow hemp as it does trees. It's far more renewable, hemp is, than trees are. It's a weed. It can be quickly cultivated. It takes less energy and effort to turn hemp fiber, I guess, into paper than it does wood pulp. And on the advantages go. So that means that William Randolph Hearst obviously saw a major competitor to his wood pulp paper business. Well, he owned a bunch of newspapers. And he started editorializing about how bad marijuana was. Now, understand, Native Americans had been using marijuana for various aspects and various reasons for centuries before Europeans got here. They didn't abuse it, but they did use it. And a lot of times when people were smoking the peace pipe, they were smoking pot. That was a tobacco. It was pot. Look, this is documented fact, folks. This is documented historical fact. So you combine William Randolph Hearst with making wild accusations in the editorials about pot because he wants it banned so it doesn't pose a competition to his wood pulp industry, as well as needing to be able to control at that particular time the Native American population, in wanting them to become more industrialized and more Western and more American, and to leave their old cultures behind. And again, this is documented historical fact of what America tried, the federal government tried to do to the Native American Indians. Now, back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, in fact, you can look at some of the pictures and see where they actually tried to turn them, especially the children. They sent children; they were forbidden to speak in their native tongue. They were taught English. They had their hair cut, and they were put in Western American type clothes. They looked like little boys and girls out of the big city. So this is what they were trying to do, and one of the things that they were trying also to do is to make it more difficult for Native Americans to be able to practice their traditions and their religions. And one of the things was also marijuana, peace pipe, tobacco. That's basically what it was. It was also used in certain rituals, in shamanistic rituals, and it was used in sometimes it was used in the sweat lodges that certain tribes used in practice. It wasn't abused by Native Americans, but it was used. So that had to be cut out. So we got to this point, and it's all the same around the same time as what? Alcohol was being looked at as being very, very bad. And we know what happened to that. We had a constitutional amendment that banned liquor in this country. So again, it was stuff that we were lied to about. Liquor is the devil, man. It's going to cause all it. If we get rid of liquor, it's going to cure all our ills. And by getting rid of liquor, what did we do? We gave rise to organized crime in the United States. We made them rich and powerful. And this is exactly what we're doing with pot. It's no different. And now we're coming along where some states are saying, well, maybe we should just finally legalize this stuff. Why? Because we're arresting too many people who just smoke it. They don't grow it or distribute it. All they do is smoke it. They buy it and they smoke it. Why the hell would you spend so much time and money and effort in your police force to try to find and stop and arrest people who smoke it? And then sometimes, too many times, if you're caught too many times smoking it, they actually throw you in jail. Where the American people then have to do what? Pick up the tab for this person. Why do we do that? All based on two false notions and accusations from way back in the day. One, because, hey, it's a competition to William Randolph Hearst's Wood Pulp, and it's going to get rid of part of the aspect of Native American culture, so we can westernize all the Native Americans here, so we can get rid of the reservations, and so we can have their land. That's what it was about, folks. Getting rid of Native American reservations so that the land could be sold off. That's what it was. It was called assimilation. That's what it was all about. And you're able to do that if you start taking apart certain parts of people's culture. So that is why pot and marijuana and hemp is illegal in this country to this day. Because nobody wants to stand up and say, well, this is I don't know why, because they stood up and said, well, prohibition for alcohol was kind of a mistake. Big time. So why they're not doing the same thing for pot, maybe some people are, is beyond me. Now, I don't smoke the stuff. I'm not going to, suggest that people smoke it, but it's kind of like tobacco. If you want to smoke cigarettes, go ahead. Because contrary to modern belief, no, pot really isn't all that evil as they say. Yes, there are certain aspects where, some people become a little bit more, you can say lazy if you want to, less ambitious. But it's not pot. It's not just pot that does that. There are a lot of legal drugs that do that. And hell, if you drink alcohol all the time, that'll do that to you. But it's not just pot that does that. Again, don't believe me, look it up. You'll find out. You'll find out that everything I'm saying is true. We've been lied to about this. It's not the first time we were lied to about alcohol. But even if everything negative that they said is true about marijuana, then why would you still have hemp, which has no hallucinogenic properties to it whatsoever, but has a plethora of industrial and commercial uses? Why would you prevent that from being grown and sold in the United States? And don't tell me because you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, because other countries allow it. Canada, for one, they can tell the difference. So again, you have to look at everything, and you have to say, well, you have to scratch your head and say, maybe there's more to this, like Rod is saying. Of course there's more to it, like I'm saying. And the whole notion that look, especially in this country, when we're supposedly looking for all kinds of alternatives to the regular industrial revolution standards, we don't seem to be using a lot of them. And a lot of these alternatives are better for the environment, but we're not using them, not simply because they don't work or because they're too expensive, but because government makes it difficult, for one, or plainly there really just isn't a market for it. But when there is a market, why do we make it so expensive and so difficult to utilize? It's kind of like bamboo. Do you know how long it took bamboo flooring to get into this country to be a stable price, affordable price for the average person? It took a long time. And bamboo flooring is tough. And it's a good alternative to a regular, to the standard wood floor. But for whatever reason, it seemed to take this country forever to get it. And it had to do with a number of different reasons, including, government getting in the way. So we got to get out of this mode of, because I'm hearing people talking about, the solar industry now. About, well, the government should, keep up its subsidy. Why should the government keep up its subsidies? Let the subsidies go. Force them to bring the price down so it is more affordable, so it is more efficient, so more people will want it, so more people will buy it, and so more people will utilize it. Right now, you're keeping it on the fringe, and I know that's what some people like. Because they like to think that they're smarter, brighter, and better than everybody else, so they want to keep solar power on the fringes because, then they're counterculture and because they don't want to be mainstream. Leftists don't want to be mainstream. No. As soon as something decides to go mainstream, then all of a sudden leftists are against it. And if you don't believe me, how about windmills? Remember, windmills are part of clean energy, right? So we're supposed to, embrace windmills. And so somebody wants to build a large windmill farm off the coast where there's a constant breeze that'll constantly be blowing on these windmills and have them constantly rotating and constantly producing power. And now who comes out of the woodwork? Oh no, these things are going mainstream. So these leftist environmentalist bird-loving wackos have decided that windmills kill too many birds. And I don't know about you, but those things are huge and they're noisy. And no bird, if a bird gets killed by a windmill, then the bird is stupid. The bird is going to be scared away by the noise. I've seen it happen. They don't get close to those things. But of course, now it's mainstream, so we can't have it be mainstream because then if it's mainstream, then the leftists lose their power in their fight. So, you know what? Maybe that's what we should do with pot, too. We should just say, okay, we're going to stop the war on illicit drugs, especially pot, make it legal all over the country. And I bet you that the leftists out there, the leftist radicals, will turn away from it because now it's mainstream and they're not going to want to have anything to do with it. And then guess what? The demand for the product is going to go down. A lot of dispensaries are going to go out of business, and you solve your problem without using any cops. It's a beautiful plan, and it'll work.